I can confirm that President Ramaphosa is on his way from the United Nations General Assembly, his interactions at the SDG Summit earlier today, and on his way here to the Western Hotel in Times Square, just across Manhattan, where he is due to engage with U.S. business leaders at an event hosted by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce in collaboration with Business Unity South Africa, supported by the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. It's called a U.S.-South Africa Trade and Investment Executive Dialogue, and we're delighted to, of course, invite the principal from the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, Minister Ebrahim Patel. Minister, it's good to see you. Welcome back to SABC News.
Well, thank you very much, and great to be here with you.
Well, it's important work you're doing in the United States now. Give us a sense, Minister, of who is going to be in the room with you today. What is it South Africa is selling, and what are the anticipatory takeaways we might expect from a meeting like this?
So today's meeting is a conversation between the President and more than 20 large American companies. These are some of the iconic firms in the global economy, from companies in food production to financial services, pharmaceuticals, many of the major players in the US. A number of them have operations in South Africa. We have 600 American firms that are present, that's present in the South African market, and they employ a large number of South Africans. Today's meeting is about an engagement with them to give feedback on our own thinking as South Africa, the state of the economy, the economic reforms that the President has introduced in energy, in transport, logistics, and in creating a more conducive business environment. But it's also about getting feedback from the American business community on opportunities that they see. And I've just had a meeting now with two companies, back on back. Both are bullish about the future. They feel that there's a lot of traction and opportunity. They're excited by the African Continental Free Trade Area, and they see that the challenges with energy and other areas are short-term ones that need to be managed, and they want to scale up. So it's about working with them to create the conditions, the market conditions, that can enable greater levels of output in the South African economy. And the reason for that is jobs. Jobs and opportunities for young people. Right,
33% unemployment, right? I mean, that has to come down, and with the tepid growth rate that we've experienced in South Africa for a very long time, is this catalytic? Can this be catalytic in terms of the change you seek, in terms of the growth we need to bring unemployment down?
Absolutely. American companies already represent a big part of the foreign direct investment in our economy. And trade flows are important. If you look at the overall trade flows between the US and South Africa, $25 billion US. That's for goods and services. We believe we can do even more. America is a large trading partner, and we want to sell more manufactured goods. We want to add more value to our stock of raw material in South Africa and get it into American markets so that there are opportunities that flow in the value chains in South Africa.
I'm getting a wrap here. Let me ask you one final question. Congressman Gregory Meeks met with the President yesterday. He, of course, is one of the 4 congressmen, the authors of the call on the White House to move the AGOA Forum. I know you've been engaging with him in the United States, here again in New York. I'm referring to your trip to Washington, D.C. in July. Where do we stand in terms of South Africa's inclusion in the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act?
So in the next 2 days, we'll make a big announcement in Washington. I'll be flying there tomorrow afternoon to meet with my counterpart, and it's about the practical arrangements for the AGOA Forum. The AGOA is a unilateral market access arrangement to the United States. I think that there's a very positive attitude within the American policy establishment following our engagement, and we're working hard now to make sure that AGOA is extended, not just for South Africa, but for all sub-Saharan African countries when it expires in 2025. This is really how we're going to move the economy forward. This is one of the tractions to get higher growth and better job creation.
Minister Ebrahim Patel, thanks so much for making time for us. I appreciate it now. I know you've got to go. I'm going to release you and I'm going to speak to camera because I've got about 2 minutes left with you. Just to preview, of course, the President on his way here, he will be joining the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, the man we've just spoken to. Minister Naledi Pandor will be in the room. And as the Minister there mentioned, a number of big companies I walked around the table, you saw places like Amazon, Google, many other, Pepsi will be in the room, healthcare companies, mining companies. So one expects a very robust discussion here with President Ramaphosa, which we hope to bring you live. We are told that a segment of that interaction will be live and open to the media before they kick us out. So we hope to bring you as much of that meeting as possible. And of course, this is part of South Africa's engagement in the United States on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. He'll engage with business leaders tonight. He will talk at a Africa meeting on pandemic preparedness later this evening. And then tomorrow, of course, is the big day that the UN General Assembly general debate kicks off. Among the speakers there, Lula da Silva of Brazil, the President of the United States, Joe Biden, the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, and of course our own South African President, Cyril Ramaphosa. And of course the broader context there is looking at the development agenda, but also the cross currents that we see in terms of geopolitical tensions around the world, particularly among the big nations, but also in countries like the coups that we've been experiencing in West Africa, Bongiwe, a great deal of concern about what is happening in Sudan. There is a meeting this week on the humanitarian situation in Sudan. We have seen atrocity crimes, certainly reports of atrocity crimes in places like Darfur, right? You'll remember most recently there was a UN peacekeeping mission that pulled out of Darfur, and now we're seeing regression there. So a lot of geopolitical conversations here, business conversations here, but also issues related to development, a robust agenda for President Ramaphosa and some of the 9 ministers that he has on the ground with him here in New York.